Imagine like an entire generation of people graduating from university, right? Having never seen their country's flag flying at the biggest sporting event on Earth.
Yeah, not even once.
Not once. We usually toss around numbers regarding sporting droughts like they're just, I don't know, trivia on a broadcast chyron.
Right, like, 10 years, 15 years.
Exactly. We say the numbers, but we don't always feel the emotional gravity behind them. But 24 years, 0 appearances. Well, until today.
And that alters the entire psychological landscape of a fan base when you were locked out of the room for that long. It stops being about football and starts becoming this massive issue of national identity and, honestly, generational trauma.
And that profound cultural relief, or, well, perhaps impending anxiety, is pretty much the centerpiece of today's deep dive.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that 24-year exile is officially over, the Crescent Stars are back, Turkey has qualified for the 2026 FIFA World Cup in North America.
It's a huge deal.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we are not just looking at a standard sports comeback story today.
No, not at all.
We have a massive stack of sources in front of us. We've got tactical blueprints, historical archives, deep dive previews from Sports Illustrated and Scrocca, club transfer data.
And we also have that fascinating study, right?
Yes, perhaps most fascinating of all, this intense, peer-reviewed sociological study from Dergy Park analyzing the, frankly, toxic social media environment surrounding this specific team.
Our mission today is to synthesize all of that for you. We need to figure out the exact mechanisms, the tactics, the personnel, the psychology.
Right.
Like, how did this Turkish squad under Vincenzo Montella claw their way to North America?
We are going to dissect a very unique blend of generational, world-class talent placed right alongside some glaring structural vulnerabilities.
Yeah, they definitely have those.
Can they recreate the absolute magic of their historic 2002 run? Or will the immense crushing pressure of Group D and their own fiercely demanding fan base crack them from the inside out?
It's the ultimate question. And to understand the pressure this current squad is under, you really have to understand the bizarre, almost mythical relationship Turkey has with this tournament.
Definitely. Looking at the historical archives, before 2026, they had only ever qualified twice. Total, in the entire history of the sport.
Which, it borders on the absurd when you account for the sheer scale of their footballing infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
The domestic league investment and the white-hot passion in that country, just twice is crazy.
Their first appearance back in 1954 sounds like something out of a surrealist film.
It really does.
They were trying to qualify, and they tied a playoff with Spain, so they played a rematch. And they tied that one, too.
Because penalty shootouts didn't exist as a tiebreaker back then.
Right. So to decide who went to the World Cup, they had a 14-year-old boy, the son of a local stadium employee, literally draw lots out of a cup.
You can't make that up.
He pulled the slip of paper that said Turkey, and they were in. They went to Switzerland, beat South Korea 7-0 with a Burhan Sargon hat trick, but eventually went out to West Germany.
It establishes a crucial narrative of extreme variance for them. This national team does not do quiet, middle-of-the-road campaigns, They are either completely absent from the global stage or they are involved in wildly dramatic, high-stakes narratives determined by the slimmest of margins.
And the 2002 tournament in Japan and South Korea cemented that extreme variance permanently. That is the run that haunts and inspires Turkish football to this day.
Oh, absolutely.
They beat Japan, they beat Senegal with an iconic golden goal from Ilhan Mansiz in the quarterfinals.
Such a legendary moment.
They lose by the narrowest of margins to the eventual champions, Brazil, facing down prime Ronaldo and Rivaldo.
Right.
And then in the third-place playoff against co-host South Korea, Hakan Şükür scores the fastest goal in World Cup history, 11 seconds from the opening whistle.
It's incredible. And put yourself in the shoes of a fan back in 2002. When a team achieves something that transcendent, it fundamentally breaks the baseline expectation.
Because suddenly third place is the standard.
Exactly. That third-place finish became the permanent psychological benchmark. For the next 24 years, every single squad, every manager, every rising star was unconsciously measured against the ghosts of 2002.
And when a nation repeatedly fails to meet an impossible standard for over 2 decades, the affection for the team starts to sour.
It does. It gets really complicated.
Let's dig into that souring affection, because it brings up the dual identity of the team. Culturally, the team is known by a very traditional nickname.
Right, the Yıldızlar.
Yes, the Crescent Stars. It's a direct reference to the national flag. It represents sovereignty, historical pride, and a very stoic form of nationalism.
But recently, a second modern nickname was aggressively pushed by the media and the Federation. Bizim Çocuklar, which translates to our boys or our children.
What was the goal there? Just PR?
Pretty much. The intention behind Bizim Çocuklar was pure marketing strategy. It was designed to manufacture intimacy. The Federation was attempting to say, look at this new, young, regenerating squad. They aren't untouchable millionaires. They are your sons, your brothers, your neighbors. They are our boys.
They wanted to create a protective, familial buffer around the players.
Exactly.
But the sources we have paint a very different reality. The affection had an incredibly dark underbelly.
Yeah, it really did.
We looked at a sociological study published in Dergy Park. The researchers looked specifically at how the phrase Bizim Çocuklar was used on the popular Turkish platform Ekşi Sözlük.
And for context, for anyone who doesn't know, Ekşi Sözlük is a massive collaborative dictionary and forum.
Right. It gets around 2 million page views a day.
It is totally anonymous, highly interactive, and structurally designed to let opinions snowball rapidly.
The methodology here is vital. The researchers utilized NVivo 12 software to conduct a quantitative content analysis of entries posted specifically under the Bizim Çocuklar heading.
Yeah, and they focused on the time frame surrounding the Euro 2020 championship, which, due to global events, was actually played in June 2021.
They mapped the public sentiment from the pre-tournament hype cycle through the actual tournament, where Turkey suffered 3 consecutive losses and finished dead last in their group.
And the data they pulled is just brutal.
It really is. Out of 548 entries analyzed during that window, 68% were explicitly negative,
Wow.
30% were neutral, and only a microscopic 2% were positive. It's not just that fans were sad they lost. The nature of the negativity was intensely personal.
Right, and we are reporting this impartially just to highlight the psychological environment the players operate in.
Exactly. One user demanded the moderators change the forum title to Balloon Children because they felt the generation was artificially inflated by media hype.
Harsh.
Another highly upvoted entry called them Prim Çocuklar, or Bonus Children.
It is a textbook example of a parasocial backlash fueled by the collision of nationalism and modern capitalism.
How so?
Well, in the build-up to that tournament, the players were ubiquitous. They appeared in dozens of high-paying television commercials.
Oh, right.
The marketing weaponized deep national pride to sell products using the Our Boys moniker. But the moment the team failed on the pitch, the anonymity of Web 2.0 allowed the fans to invert that exact same marketing.
So it backfired completely.
Yeah, the warm intimacy of Our Boys curdled instantly into the bitter resentment of our million-euro boys.
It feels like a massive double standard. One entry literally read, they earn worlds from the national team, and there is still this Our Boys romanticism. They didn't practice tactics because of acting in commercials.
Yeah, the resentment is palpable.
Another user stated that if you strip away the romanticism, they are just a reluctant, faithless, hopeless, disrespectful group.
Ouch.
But hold on, isn't this just standard sports complaining? Like, fans everywhere get mad when their team loses and accuse them of caring more about money. Is this really unique?
Every fan base complains, certainly. But the study highlights the specific danger of using familial, intimate branding for a national team.
Because it makes it personal.
Exactly. When you call them Our Boys, you are demanding a standard of absolute filial loyalty. You aren't just a fan watching an athlete. You are a parent judging a disobedient son.
Oh, wow. That's a heavy burden.
It creates an incredibly fragile psychological ecosystem. The jersey becomes unimaginably heavy. The fear of making a mistake, of being subjected to personalized public shaming on a forum with 2 million daily readers, it outweighs the creative freedom required to actually win football matches.
So if that is the toxic baseline, if the expectation is either 2002-level glory or devastating public humiliation, how does a manager even begin to function?
You need someone who can defuse a bomb, not just draw tactical arrows on a whiteboard.
Precisely. And that requires a very specific psychological profile, which brings us to the architect of this 2026 run, Vincenzo Montella. Known during his playing days as L'Aeroplanino, the little airplane, because he celebrated his goals with his arms outstretched like wings.
I remember those celebrations well.
He took over the national team in September 2023. And our sources emphasize that his biggest initial victory wasn't on the pitch.
Right, it was in the locker room.
Exactly. It was unifying a dressing room that has historically been plagued by deep fractures, cliques, and player-staff squabbles.
And he managed that unification by actively immersing himself in the cultural dynamics.
Montella is an Italian raised near Naples, right?
Yeah. And he frequently points out these striking parallels between his Neapolitan upbringing and the high-passion, respect-oriented culture of Turkey.
Here's where it gets really interesting. He stated publicly, "I may be a foreigner, but just being part of all this makes me so proud. I'm now Turkish at heart."
It's a bold statement.
Let me stop you there, though. Saying I'm Turkish at heart sounds like the exact kind of slick, media-trained PR spin that fans in the Exi Suzlik study would instantly tear apart.
Oh, they would, absolutely.
Does a quote like that actually work, or is it just pandering?
Well, it only works if the actions back it up. Montella understood that in Turkish football culture, leading through cold, clinical, analytical detachment is a death sentence for a manager.
They need to feel the emotion.
The players need to see visible passion. They need mutual respect, not just a boss barking orders. By aligning his emotional temperature with theirs, he earned the locker room's trust.
And he desperately needed that trust for the qualification campaign because it was an absolute roller coaster.
You aren't kidding. UEFA Group E.
Spain, Georgia, Bulgaria, and Turkey. On September 7th, 2025, they host Spain in Konya, and they are absolutely obliterated. 6-0.
It was rough.
Mikel Merino scores a hat-trick, Pedri scores 2. It was a bloodbath on home soil.
Tactically, that 6-0 loss was a failure of spatial management. Montella tried to play an expansive attacking style against a Spanish team that specializes in exploiting gaps.
Which is basically asking for trouble against Spain.
Exactly. Spain's wingers relentlessly overload to the wide areas, pulling Turkey's defense completely out of shape, and then ruthlessly finish their chances in the center.
According to Squawka, enduring a beating like that and surviving is a massive statistical anomaly.
It really is.
Turkey became the first UEFA nation in the history of the sport to lose a World Cup qualifier by 6 goals and still successfully make the tournament.
Let that sink in. To endure the media firestorm that surely followed a 6-0 home loss and not completely collapse takes ironclad mental resilience.
It also takes rapid, pragmatic problem solving, right?
Definitely. In the return fixture, when they traveled to Sevilla to play Spain again, Montella abandoned the reckless expansion.
And adjusted.
He dropped the defensive line deeper, compressed the midfield, and they fought their way to a highly respectable 2-2 draw.
They didn't win the group, but they secured second place and a vital spot in the playoff.
And the playoffs were a masterclass in grinding it out.
A tense 1-0 victory over Romania in Istanbul with Ferdi Kadıoğlu scoring. Then they go to Pristina and beat Kosovo 1-0, with Kerem Aktürkoğlu getting the deciding goal.
But they had to do this while navigating absolute disciplinary chaos.
Oh man, the Cards. In their group stage opener against Georgia, Barış Alper Yılmaz gets a straight red card.
Which is disastrous. He misses 2 crucial matches.
Then, their critical defensive midfielder, Ismail Yüksek, accumulates too many yellow cards against Georgia and Bulgaria, suspending him for that massive final group game against Spain.
And this is where Montella's true value became apparent.
How so?
Historically, losing your starting physical forward to a red card and your primary defensive destroyer to suspension would completely fracture this team's mentality. The panic would set in.
But it didn't this time.
Right. Montella engineered a modular tactical system. The personnel kept changing, but the underlying shape held firm under extreme stress.
I see the logic, but calling it a modular system feels a bit generous. Doesn't constantly shuffling your midfield due to suspensions completely destroy team chemistry?
You'd think so.
Isn't modular just a polite way of saying they were forced into disorganization?
Well, it would be disorganization if the replacement players didn't know their specific roles within the broader architecture.
Ah, I see.
But Montella drilled the tactical concept so thoroughly that even when the individual parts were swapped out, the machine kept running. They didn't rely on one indispensable hero to save them. They relied on the system.
But to survive that kind of disciplinary chaos, you can't just rely on grit and survival instincts. You have to manufacture possession and dictate the terms of the game.
Exactly.
And the way Montella solved this brings us directly into the blueprint of their strengths. Their highly unusual 4-2-3-1 hybrid formation.
It is a brilliant, though risky, setup.
Montella demands possession, but he also demands rapid transition speed. When they are defending, they drop into what is known as a compact mid-block.
Okay, let's pause here. We are throwing around mid-block.
Yeah, for a listener who generally only watches football when the World Cup rolls around, what exactly is a compact mid-block and why is it so hard to break down?
Sure. Think of the football pitch divided horizontally into 3 zones. You have the defending third near your own goal, the middle third, and the attacking third.
Okay, makes sense.
A mid-block means the team intentionally sets up their defensive structure entirely within that middle third of the pitch.
So they aren't retreating all the way back.
Right. They aren't pressing the opponent's goalkeeper wildly, but they aren't retreating into their own penalty box either. They stay incredibly close together.
That's the compact part.
Exactly. Creating a dense wall of bodies in the center of the field. It suffocates the opponent's passing lanes, forcing them to either pass sideways endlessly or risk a dangerous long ball.
That makes total sense. So they win the ball back in that dense middle zone. What happens next?
Let's break down the engine room first.
The core is the captain, Hakan Çalhanoğlu. He plays as a deep-line playmaker.
Yeah, he frequently drops all the way back between his own center backs to start the build-up.
Then you have Orkun Kökçü operating as the box-to-box progressor, carrying the ball forward. And of course, the frequently suspended but absolutely crucial Ismail. Yüksek acts as the defensive ballast. Yüksek won 21 tackles in the qualifying campaign alone.
And Çalhanoğlu dropping deep is the trigger for the entire attacking sequence.
How does that work?
By moving closer to his own goal, he escapes the physical pressure of the opposition's midfielders. He buys himself time and space.
Oh, I see.
And because he possesses an elite world-class passing range, he can dictate the tempo and launch pinpoint attacks from 70 yards away.
But for a deep-lying playmaker to be effective, he needs dynamic movement ahead of him, right?
Exactly. He needs targets.
And that dynamic movement is completely asymmetrical. This is my favorite part of their tactical setup.
It's so fascinating to watch.
On the left side, you have the fullback, Ferdi Kadıoğlu, who plays his club football for Brighton in the Premier League. He has a green light to push incredibly high up the pitch.
He acts almost like an extra attacking winger.
Meanwhile, on the right side, the fullback, usually Zeki Çelik from Roma, stays anchored back. He plays conservatively to make sure they aren't totally exposed to a counterattack.
And that asymmetry creates a calculated overload.
Explain that for me.
When Kadıoğlu sprints up that left touchline, the opponent's defense has to physically react. Their entire defensive line has to slide horizontally to the left to stop him.
Right.
When you stretch a defense horizontally, you pull the defenders apart, gaps open up in the middle of the pitch. And those gaps are exactly where Montella wants the ball to go.
Because who is waiting in those gaps? The prodigies.
Oh, absolutely.
Arda Güler and Kenan Yıldız, they're both 21 years old. Think about that.
It's wild. They weren't even born when Turkey made that magical run to the semifinals in 2002.
So they have no memory of the ghosts they are competing against.
They represent the generational talent pipeline this country has been desperately waiting for.
Let's start with Arda Güler. He plays for Real Madrid. In the 2025-26 club season leading up to this tournament, he registered an astonishing 25 goal involvements. That's 7 goals and 18 assists in 58 appearances.
Unbelievable numbers for a 21-year-old.
For the national team during the qualifiers, he created 12 distinct scoring chances and provided 4 assists.
Thierry Henry, analyzing him recently, didn't mince words. He called Güler an undisputed elite world-class talent.
And Montella utilizes Güler by giving him a free-roaming central role.
Right. He is completely authorized to drift anywhere on the pitch, find those pockets of space created by the overlapping fullbacks, and deliver line-breaking passes.
And this is where we have to discuss the concept of half spaces, because that is where Güler and Yıldız inflict the most damage.
Right. Another tactical term. Let's explain the half space physically. Where are these guys standing?
Imagine dividing the pitch vertically into 5 lanes. You have the 2 wide lanes out by the touchlines, and you have the absolute center lane right down the middle.
Okay.
The half spaces are the 2 lanes sandwiched in between the wide lane and the center lane.
So they're kind of in the scenes.
Exactly. If an attacking player stands in a half space, they are a nightmare to defend.
Why is that?
The opposing fullback doesn't want to follow them inside because he has to worry about the winger on the outside.
Right.
The opposing center back doesn't want to step out to tackle them because it leaves a hole in the middle of the defense. It creates paralyzing indecision for the defense.
And Kenan Yıldız thrives in that indecision.
Yıldız is at Juventus. He notched 14 goals and 9 assists for his club this season.
He was the joint top scorer for Turkey in qualifying with 3 crucial goals.
But the underlying data is what makes him so terrifying to play against. He averaged 3.5 completed dribbles per game in qualifying.
To put that in context, among players with over 500 minutes in the qualifiers, only Jeremy Doku and Kvichuk Kvaratskhelia had higher dribbling averages.
That is elite company.
He is a highly direct, powerful runner who takes the ball, turns, and drives straight at retreating defenders.
So Güler and Yildiz are perfectly complementary.
Completely. Güler is the lockpick. He uses vision and passing to dismantle the defense. Yildiz is the battering ram. He uses speed and dribbling to shatter it.
You saw this entire asymmetric, prodigy-led system click perfectly on June 1st in a pre-tournament friendly against North Macedonia.
Oh, that game was a statement.
They completely dismantled them. 4-0. Kotsu scored, Barış Alper Yılmaz scored, and even the young Eintracht Frankfurt forward Canisun, along with Porto's physical striker Deniz Gül, got on the score sheet.
It was a massive, undeniable demonstration of their creative density and form, just days before boarding the plane to North America.
It was a beautiful display of attacking football.
However, any system that relies so heavily on two specific 21-year-olds to manipulate space is inherently fragile.
Yeah, that's the catch.
If the lockpick or the battering ram is unavailable, the entire tactical structure threatens to collapse.
Which forces us to look at the massive, flashing red warning signs surrounding this team. We're moving into the Achilles heel portion of the deep dive.
And we have to start with the intense medical scrutiny currently surrounding Kenan Yildiz.
What's the latest there?
As of right now, Yildiz is dealing with a significant muscle injury. He was entirely ruled out of their final warm-up game against Venezuela in early June.
That's a huge blow right before the tournament.
The medical and technical staff are desperately attempting to manage his recovery timeline so he is available for the opening group match.
Right.
When your entire asymmetrical attacking blueprint requires Yildiz dominating the left half space, his physical availability is the single most critical variable Montella is facing.
But even if we assume Yildiz heals perfectly and is 100% healthy, this squad possesses a glaring structural flaw that every single opponent in Group D has already noticed on the game tape.
Oh yeah, it's impossible to miss.
They do not have a clinical, world-class number 9 striker.
They lack a traditional target man who can reliably turn a half chance into a goal.
This raises an important question, though. Can a team realistically survive a short-format World Cup tournament without a dedicated striker, relying entirely on wide players and midfielders for goals?
It is a profound limitation. To compensate for the absence of a pure striker, Montella has frequently deployed Kerem Aktürkoğlu as a false 9.
Aktürkoğlu is undeniably a fantastic footballer. He just secured a 12 million transfer to Benfica.
Yeah, and he scored the decisive playoff winner against Kosovo.
He possesses incredible mobility and leads the pressing structure from the front with incredible work rate.
But hold on, I want to clarify the terminology again. What makes a false 9 false?
A good question. A traditional number 9, like a true striker, plays with their back to the goal, wrestles with the center backs, and stays high up the pitch waiting for service into the penalty box.
Like an Erling Haaland type.
Exactly. A false 9 is a player who lines up as a striker on paper, but when the game starts, they continuously drop deep into the midfield. This movement pulls the opposing center backs out of position, creating space behind them for wingers to run into.
So, Aktürkoğlu is dropping back, making space. That sounds like a smart tactical solution. Why is it a problem?
Because Aktürkoğlu is a winger by trade. He excels at running into space, but he does not possess the natural predatory instincts of a center forward inside the crowded penalty box.
Ah, right.
When the ball is bouncing around 6 yards from the goal, you need pure instinct, not tactical mobility.
And the stats from the playoffs highlight this inefficiency painfully.
Let's hear them.
Across those two tense games against Romania and Kosovo, Turkey absolutely dominated possession and territory. But they only managed to score 2 goals from 28 collective shots.
That's a terrible conversion rate.
They needed an average of 14 shots just to score 1 goal.
Consider it this way. In a grinding, short-format tournament like the World Cup, you cannot afford that volume of inefficiency.
You are not going to get 14 shots against a highly organized team.
No way. You might only get 2 clear-cut chances in 90 minutes. If your primary attacking weapon is a false 9 who isn't a natural finisher, you are living on borrowed time.
Now, they do have a physical plan B. Deniz Gül. He plays for Porto.
He stands 6 foot 4 inches tall. He offers a massive, undeniable aerial presence and fits the profile of a traditional target man perfectly.
But he is 21 years old with very limited senior international experience.
Montella is faced with a massive gamble. Do you sacrifice the fluid, interchangeable passing of the false nine system to put a massive target man in the box?
Can a young player like Gül handle the pressure of an entire nation, expecting him to immediately become the next Hakan Şükür on the biggest stage imaginable?
History suggests it is incredibly difficult to win a modern World Cup, relying entirely on wide players and midfielders for goal production, unless your defensive structure is absolutely impenetrable.
Which brings us to the stark reality of their defensive setup. It is anything but impenetrable.
Well, it's pretty chaotic.
Their entire tactical blueprint relies on maintaining a dangerously high defensive line. They want to compress the pitch, suffocate the opponent in that mid-block we discussed, and win the ball back far away from their own goal.
It's a high-risk, high-reward strategy. The best way to visualize a high defensive line is to think of a rubber band.
Okay, I like this analogy.
You grab the back line, center backs like Merih Demiral or Abdülkerim Bardaki, and you stretch them 40 yards up the pitch to squeeze the opponent. But if the opponent manages to snip that rubber band, say, with one perfectly weighted long pass over the top, all of that tension snaps back violently toward your own goal.
Oh, man.
Suddenly, your center backs are in a desperate 40-yard foot race against rapid wingers.
That's a brilliant analogy because it highlights the physics of the vulnerability and remember the asymmetrical attack we spent so much time on.
With Ferdi Kadıoğlu.
Yes. He is pushed all the way up on the left touchline, acting as a winger. If Turkey loses the ball in the middle of the pitch, that entire left channel where Kadıoğlu used to be is completely empty.
It is a 4-lane highway for a counterattack.
Because of that structural vulnerability, Turkey relies heavily, and you could argue far too heavily, on their goalkeeper, Özerkan Çakır, to constantly act as a sweeper and bail them out of catastrophic one-on-one situations.
Çakır's role cannot be overstated. His form for his club has been absolutely sensational.
Yeah, he recently finalized a historic transfer within the Turkish Super League, moving from Trabzonspor to Galatasaray.
For a base fee of $27.5 million, which could escalate to $36 million with performance add-ons. He signed a 5-year deal after leading Galatasaray to the 2025-26 Super League title.
He is undeniably one of the most elite, in-form goalkeepers operating in Europe right now.
The transfer data shows that giants like Bayern Munich and Inter Milan were actively pursuing him, with persistent rumors of a $30 million offer from Bayern on the table.
But Galatasaray's board shut it down. They declared him completely untouchable as they prepare for their Champions League campaign.
Having an elite, world-class goalkeeper is obviously an advantage. But the defining tension of Montella's system is this. The way they attempt to control the game via the high line inherently invites chaos.
Right.
If your entire defensive strategy relies on your goalkeeper making miraculous, game-saving stops 3 times a match because your center backs keep getting exposed on the counterattack, well, that is an unsustainable way to navigate a World Cup.
And these massive strengths, the prodigies, the possession, clashing with these glaring weaknesses, the lack of a true striker, the high-line vulnerability are going to be immediately tested.
In a group that offers zero margin for error.
Group D is a battlefield.
Let's lay out the logistics. On June 13th, they open the tournament against Australia at BC Place in Vancouver.
6 days later, on June 19th, they play Paraguay at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California.
And finally, the massive group stage finale on June 25th against the United States at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood.
The travel itinerary alone is a massive factor.
Right. Vancouver down to LA.
Flying out of the Pacific Northwest, down the length of the West Coast into California, navigating the varying microclimates, managing the immense physical and mental pressure, it takes a compounding toll.
For a squad that relies on high-intensity pressing and the endless stamina of players like Ferdi Kadıoğlu running up and down the flank, fatigue is a genuine opponent.
Tactically, how does Turkey match up against the first 2 teams, Australia and Paraguay?
Both of these nations have a distinct footballing identity. They are known for being physically robust, highly organized defensively, and completely comfortable surrendering possession to absorb pressure.
And that stylistic clash is precisely where the absence of a true number 9 hurts Turkey the most. Teams like Australia and Paraguay will gladly deploy a deep, compact, low block.
Okay, we defined mid-block earlier. A low block means they are parking the bus, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
They drop all 11 players into their own defensive third, right on top of their own penalty box.
Exactly. They compress the space near their own goal to an absolute minimum. They will intentionally deny any operating space to Arda Güler and Kenan Yıldız in those half spaces.
They will essentially dare Turkey to swing crosses into the penalty box.
Knowing full well that without a massive physical striker, unless Montella gambles on Deniz Gül, those crosses will be easily headed away by their towering center backs.
So Turkey will likely have to rely heavily on the dead ball mastery of Hakan Çalhanoğlu.
A perfectly placed free kick or corner might be the only way to break the deadlock in those grinding physical affairs.
If they manage to survive the physical gauntlet of Australia and Paraguay, everything culminates on June 25th in Inglewood. Turkey versus the United States.
Picture the atmosphere inside SoFi Stadium that night for you as a viewer.
The United States is the co-host nation. It is their premier home stadium. The weight of expectation on the American squad to perform on home soil will be suffocating.
But Turkey will not be intimidated by a hostile crowd.
No, because they will be backed by their incredibly passionate, fiercely loud diaspora living in California. It is going to feel like a heavyweight title fight on neutral ground.
The predictive models in betting markets, such as those for the Action Network, suggest that the qualitative distance between the United States and Turkey right now is almost non-existent.
They are incredibly evenly matched on paper. That final game is highly likely to define who actually wins Group D.
And winning the group is paramount. The team that finishes first secures a significantly more favorable path in the round of 32, successfully avoiding the absolute juggernauts waiting in Group G.
It all comes down to pressure. Who executes their blueprint and who fractures under the weight of the moment. Which brings us full circle to the mission of this deep dive. Let's summarize the core narrative we've uncovered.
We have a Turkish squad carrying the extreme, almost unbearable emotional baggage of a 24-year World Cup drought.
They are led by an Italian tactician in Vincenzo Montella, who has miraculously forged psychological unity out of historical division.
They are powered by the dazzling, unpredictable youth of Arda Güler and Kenan Yıldız, and anchored by the seasoned, world-class passing of Hakan Çalhanoğlu.
But they are haunted by the glaring absence of a clinical striker, and their defensive high line is a high-wire act that requires their goalkeeper, Uzurkan Çakır, to play the tournament of his life.
So what does this all mean?
Look at the hard results. They have only lost twice since the beginning of 2025. They navigated a chaotic qualifying campaign.
They survived the absolute pressure cooker of the UEFA playoffs. They are not flying to North America just to be tourists.
They possess the tactical sophistication and the raw talent to make a deep, disruptive run in this tournament.
The talent is undeniable, but the mental game, the psychological resilience, will dictate everything.
Consider this. In 2002, nobody saw Turkey coming. They were the ultimate underdogs, unburdened by expectation, playing with absolute freedom, and they shocked the world.
Now, in 2026, the expectations are suffocating. The hype around Güler and Yıldız is a global phenomenon.
And their relationship with their own fans is a razor's edge. We saw the Dergy Park study. The hostility on Ekşisözlük is just one bad result away from erupting.
Exactly. If they concede an early goal to Australia in Vancouver, how will the ecosystem react?
Will the fans rally behind the Ayıldızlar, lifting the team up with stoic national pride?
Or will that toxic Bizim Şükürler pressure, the weaponized intimacy that tore them apart in 2021, resurface instantly and cause the squad to collapse from within?
The greatest opponent Turkey faces in North America might not be the USA or Australia or Paraguay. It might be the violent swing of their own emotional pendulum.
That is a chilling but entirely accurate assessment.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final tactical concept to explore on your own. We spent a lot of time discussing their high line and Ferdi Kadıoğlu's overlapping runs.
Look up the concept of asymmetrical rest defense.
It is the highly complex, split-second defensive mapping that a team has to instantly create the exact moment they lose the ball.
If an opposing manager in Group D figures out how to systematically exploit that massive left side gap left by Kadıoğlu before Ismail Yüksek can rotate over to cover it, it could unravel Turkey's entire World Cup dream in a matter of seconds.
It is the ultimate chess match at the highest level of the sport. The structural vulnerability is there on the tape. It's just a matter of who possesses the surgical precision to exploit it and whether Montella has a countermove ready in his back pocket.
We will find out soon enough in Vancouver.
A 24-year wait is finally over. The global X-ray machine is turning on and there is nowhere left to hide. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Crescent Stars. Keep a very close eye on Group D and we will catch you next time.